When you think about it, you don't really see too many games about religion. I mean, sure, there are plenty of games where you can play as a god and create your own society, and thus religion from scratch. And many RPGs have the odd reference to Christianity or Judaism, but you never really see games where contemporary mainstream religion is the actual focus. I mean, you're never going to see a first-person shooter starring Moses, even though that would totally rock. And you're never going to get to play a platform game with the Buddha, or race your friends in a kart racer with the 12 Apostles. The only game I can think of that sort of fits the bill is Bible Adventures, that old unlicensed game on the Super Nintendo where you could play through snippets of the stories of baby Moses, Noah, and David and Goliath. Even that wasn't really a religious game though, as it mainly involved running around and carrying animals and people from one place to another, and bludgeoning pigs with produce for some reason. And it certainly didn't have any references to God or spirituality whatsoever. In truth, the lack of religious games is probably a good thing. I mean, after all, even the most relaxed, open-minded person of faith will likely burst into flames at seeing their system of beliefs stripped down and sold as entertainment next to Manhunt 2, where I hear the gameplay consists entirely of repeatedly stabbing your foes with nothing but a rusted tuna can lid. Of course, there's always someone out there who takes this lack of religious games as a challenge, which brings us to our review. The Bible game on the PlayStation 2. A game about Christianity marketed towards the youngsters of the MTV MySpace generation. A game that will likely bore the unreligious while offending those of faith at the same time, so let's just try and get this over with, shall we? At its heart, the Bible game, apart from being a clearly calculated attempt to cash into America's young Christian population, is a party game. Though truth be told, if you bust out the Bible game when your friends and family get together, chances are the term party is going to be a bit of a misnomer. 4 players will take turns picking tiles from a game board, each of which reveals some kind of challenge, reward or punishment. Well, reward's a relative term really, none of them make the game end any faster. I think Empty Promise of Post-Mortal Happiness would have been a more fitting name. A round ends when the player uncovers the much-feared Wrath of God event, which costs them all their points for that round, as well as their dignity and self-respect, or at least as much dignity and self-respect as left after choosing to play the Bible game. The backbone of the game is the various challenge games, which come in 2 parts. You'll get your challenges, which tend to be similar to Mario Party games, and there are the Old Testament trivia questions. Set on easy, these questions are simple enough that I was able to answer them correctly, even though the closest I've come to reading the Bible was when I swore one last time I was on trial for indecent exposure. Set on hard though, and you're going to have a difficult time getting the right answer even if you partook in the events yourself. I mean, despite having read most of the Old Testament several times myself, I was baffled as to how many men were in the original army of Israel, or what the name of the god of the Moabites was. Was it Jim? Was it Axel from Organization 13? Was it Doctor Strange? I mean, seriously, I've got no fucking idea. Surprisingly, a lot of the multiplayer challenges are actually kind of fun. They run the gamut from slinging stones at wooden cutouts of Philistine soldiers, to charging madly across the sea floor exposed when Moses parted the Red Sea. Though none of the games are particularly difficult, they're all simple, mindless fun. It doesn't do your ears any good though when during the challenge games Christian rock music blares in the background. And granted, I'm not the best person to consult as to the quality of particular track choices in the Bible game. However, I think even an enthusiast of the style will have to acknowledge that lyrics like "You are amazing God, you are amazing God" probably lack the depth and subtlety of quality for us. The player avatars are all stereotypical little kids with backwards baseball caps and t-shirts and big old cartoony heads, just the kind that Catholic priests like. I'm guessing they probably took this job to make some extra cash in between doing Trix commercials and starring in Nick Jr. television shows. The little bastards all move fairly smoothly and control comfortably though, so I guess I can't really complain. Overall, the game's graphics are pleasant in a cartoonish sort of way, but nothing near the level they need to be if they intend to salvage the game all by themselves. Strictly speaking, from a purely gameplay level, there's nothing particularly horrendous about the Bible game. However, it's kind of hard to focus on anything but the fact that the game has taken the Old Testament, which is probably the most influential book in all of human history, behind Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat. And it's a book that narrates thousands of years of bloodshed and triumph, a book which many consider to be dictated by the being that created all of existence. And they've turned it into a game show where you can play as a kid in a cowboy hat who does a funky little dance whenever he gains the lead. I mean, it's certainly fun playing the False Idols challenge, where you kick golden idols into a melting pot in the centre of the room. But it still kind of makes you feel dirty when you consider that the game is a play-off of one of the darkest moments in the Tales of Moses. You can almost see the suited marketing committee patting each other on the back for another job well done. It's painfully evident that the people involved in creating the game knew very little about the Bible, but they did know a whole lot about selling crap to stupid little kids and their mothers. So, what's my verdict? Whether you're a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or just a regular guy who really digs beer and football violence, you can rest assured that the Bible game really has nothing to offer any of you. Unless of course you're a soulless shell of a human being who thinks the Old Testament was too full of violence and controversial themes and would much rather watch 4 clean-cut kids play silly games based off of the same stories. Well, as you all already know, and I think I proved beyond any shadow of a doubt with this travesty, you can request a specific game for me to review for your pleasure and my squirming discomfort by sending off an email to ttrreview@gmail.com.